Jeremy. Today's day 316 of reading, taking HarryPotter and the Goblet of Fire. Let's get started. We are currently on page, give me a sec, 595. Let's go. We have heard the evidence against you. The four of you stand accused of capturing an aura, Frank Longbottom, and subjecting him to the Cruciatus curse, believing him to have the knowledge of the present whereabouts of your exiled master, who must not be named. Father, I didn't, shrieked the boy in the chains below. I didn't. I swear it, Father. Don't send me back to the Dementors. You are further accused, bellowed Mr. Crouch, of using the Cruciatus curse on Frank Longbottom's wife, when he would not give you information. You plan to restore he who must not be named to power, and to resume the lives of violence you presumably led while he was strong. I now ask the jury. Mother, screamed the boy below, and the wispy little witch beside Crouch began to sob, rocking backward and forward. Mother, stop him! Mother, I didn't do it! It wasn't me! I now ask the jury, shouted Mr. Crouch, to raise their hand if they believe, as I do, that these crimes deserve a life sentence in Azkaban. In unison, the witches and wizards along the right-hand side of the dungeon raised their hands. The crowd around the wall began to clap as it had for Bagman, their faces full of savage triumph. The boy began to scream. No, Mother, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't know. Don't send me there. Don't let him. The Dementors were gliding back into the room. The boy's three companions rose quietly from their seats. The woman with the heavy-lidded eyes looked up at Crouch and called, The Dark Lord will rise again. Crouch, throw us into Azkaban. We will wait. He will rise again and will come for us. He'll reward us beyond any of his other supporters. We alone were faithful. We alone tried to find him. But the boy was trying to fight off the Dementors. Even though Harry could see their cold, draining power starting to affect him. The crowd was jeering, some of them on their feet, as the woman swept out of the dungeon and the boy continued to struggle. I'm your son, he screamed up at Crouch. I'm your son. You are no son of mine, bellowed Mr. Crouch, his eyes bulging suddenly. I have no son. The wispy witch beside him gave a great gasp and slumped in her seat. She had fainted. Crouch appeared not to have noticed. Take them away, Crouch roared at the Dementors, spit flying from his mouth. Take them away, and may they rot there. Father, Father, I wasn't involved. No, Father, please. I think, Harry, it is time to return to my office, said a quiet voice in Harry's ear. Harry started. He looked around, and then he looked on his other side. There was an Albus Dumbledore sitting on his right, watching Crouch's son being dragged away by the Dementors, and there was Albus Dumbledore on his left, looking right at him. Come, said the Dumbledore on his left, and he put his hand under Harry's elbow. Harry felt himself rising into the air. The dungeon dissolved around him. For a moment, it all was blackness, and then he felt as though he had done a slow-motion somersault, suddenly landing flat on his feet, in what seemed like the dazzling light of Dumbledore's sunlit office. The stone basin was shimmering in the cabinet in front of him, and Albus Dumbledore was standing beside him. Professor, Harry gasped. I know I shouldn't have. I didn't mean. The cabinet door was sort of open and... I quite understand, said Dumbledore. He lifted the basin, carried it over to his desk, placed it upon the polished top, and sat down in the chair behind it. He motioned for Harry to sit down opposite him. Harry did so, staring at the stone basin. The contents had returned to their original silvery white state, swirling and rippling beneath his gaze. What is it? Harry asked shakily. It is called the Pensieve, said Dumbledore. I sometimes find, and I am sure you know the feeling, that I have simply had too much thoughts and memories crammed into my mind. Said Harry, who couldn't truthfully say that he had ever felt anything of the sort. At these times, said Dumbledore, indicating the stone basin, I use the Pensieve. One simply siphons the exact thoughts from one's mind, pours them into the basin, and examines them at one's leisure. It becomes easier to spot patterns and link, you understand, when they are in this form. You mean that's just your thoughts? Harry said, staring at the swirling white substance in the basin. Certainly, said Dumbledore. Let me show you. Dumbledore drew his wand out of the inside of his robes and placed the tip into his own silvery hair, near his temple. When he took the wand away, Harry seemed to be clinging to it. But then Harry saw that it was in fact a glistening string of the same strange silvery white substance that filled the pensieve. Dumbledore added this fresh thought to the basin, and Harry, astonished, saw his own face swimming around the first surface of the bowl. Dumbledore placed his long hands on either side of the pensieve and swirled it, rather as a gold prospector would pan for fragments of gold, and Harry saw his own face change smoothly into Snape's, who opened his mouth and spoke to the ceiling, his voice echoing slightly. It's coming back, Karkaroff's too, stronger and clearer than ever. A connection I could have made without assistance, Dumbledore sighed, but never mind. He peered over the top of his half-moon spectacles at Harry, who was gaping at Snape's face, which was continuing to swirl around the bowl. I was using the pensieve when Mr. Fudge arrived for our meeting and put it away rather hastily. Undoubtedly, I did not fasten the cabinet door properly. Naturally, it would have attracted your attention. I'm sorry, Harry mumbled. Dumbledore shook his head. Curiosity is not a sin, he said, but we should exercise caution with our curiosity. Yes, indeed. Frowning slightly, he prodded the thoughts within the basin with the tip of his wand. Instantly, a figure rose out of it, a plump, scowling girl of about 16, who began to revolve slowly, with her feet still in the basin. She took no notice whatsoever of Harry or Professor Dumbledore. When she spoke, her voice echoed as Snape's had done, as though it were coming from the depths of the stone basin. He put a hex on me, Professor Dumbledore, and I was only teasing him, sir. I only said I had saw him kissing Florence behind the greenhouses last Thursday. But why, Bertha? Said Dumbledore sadly, looking up at the now silently revolving girl. Why did you have to follow him in the first place? Bertha? Harry whispered, looking up at her. Was that Bertha Jorkins? Yes, said Dumbledore, prodding the thoughts in the basin again. Bertha sank back into them, and they became silvery and opaque once more. That was Bertha as I remembered her at school. The silvery light from the pensieve illuminated Dumbledore's face, and it struck Harry suddenly how old he was looking. He knew, of course, that Dumbledore was getting on in years, but somehow he never really thought of Dumbledore as an old man. So, Harry, before you got lost in my thoughts, you wanted to tell me something? Yes, said Harry. Professor, I was in divination just now, and, I fell asleep. He hesitated here, wondering if a reprimand was coming, but Dumbledore merely said, Quite understand. Continue. Well, I had a dream, said Harry. A dream about Lord Voldemort. He was torturing Wormtail. You know who Wormtail? I do know, said Dumbledore promptly. Please continue. Voldemort got a letter from an owl. He said something like Wormtail's blunder had been repaired. He said someone was dead. Then he said Wormtail wouldn't be able to feed the snake. There was a snake beside his chair. He said he'd be feeding me to it instead. Then he did the Cruciatus curse on Wormtail, and my scar hurt. And he said, it woke me up. It hurt so badly. Dumbledore merely looked at him. That's all, said Harry. I see, said Dumbledore quietly. Now, had your scar hurt any other time of this year, except the time that it woke you up over the summer? No, How did you know it woke me up over the summer? Said Harry, astonished. You are not Cyrus's only correspondent, said Dumbledore. I have also been in contact with him ever since he left Hogwarts last year. It was I who suggested the mountainside cave as the safest place for him to stay. Dumbledore got up and began walking up and down behind his desk. Every now and then, he places one tip to his temple.